Chapter 7, Adding a Map and User Location. Step-by-Step Movie 7.1. So now we're ready to add the location scene to the storyboard. Again, I'm going to make room. I'll hide the document outline, this panel down below, and I'll even double-click to give myself some space. Now this time I'm going to add a view controller. We don't need to add a table view controller because this next scene won't have a table view on it. So we just have a plain old view controller. I'll drag and put it to the right. Again, putting it to the right indicates the order that these scenes appear in my app. Double click to zoom back in. I'm going to create a segue from the address over to our new location, which will display the address on a map. So I hold the control key down, I click, drag over, and then again I select push. And as before, it's created the segue between the new scenes and has added the navigation bar at the top of the scene. So let's change the title of this navigation bar, and I'll call it Location, and press return. And now I'll add a map view control to the location scene. So I can either scroll down in the library to find it, or I can even type the word map, and it will show me all the controls that have the word map in it. And as it so happens, there's only one. So I click here, I'm going to drag over there, and I'm going to wait until I can see both my vertical and horizontal guidelines appear, and then I release my mouse. So this causes the map view to fill all the available space in the view, which is exactly what we want. So with the map view still selected, I go back to the Attributes Inspector, and I'm going to select Shows User Location. So whereas in the real application, we would actually want to show this physical address in the simulator when they tap on here, since this is a prototype, we're going to be happy with just showing the user's location. This requires us to write just a few lines of code. So for our next step, we need to add the MapKit and core location frameworks to the project. Now in this version of Xcode, the project template does not already have a frameworks group in it, so I'll add one now. To do that, I can right-click the project node and say New Group, and I'll name the group Frameworks. I want to position it further down on the list, so I click and drag, and I place it above the iDeliver Mobile tests. So now I'm ready to add my frameworks to the project. To do that, with the project node selected, I scroll down to Linked Frameworks and Libraries and click the plus sign. So the first one I want to add is core location. If I scroll down just a little bit, I can see that here. The other one I want to add, these are in alphabetical order, is MapKit. So if I scroll down further, I see MapKit. I'm going to hold the Command key down and select it. If I go back up, you can see that core location is still selected. So when I click Add, it'll add both of these frameworks under the Frameworks group. In previous versions of iOS, that's all it took to display the user's location on a map. But starting in iOS8, there are two additional steps we need to take. The first one, I'll expand the supporting files folder and select the info.plist file. The plist file contains a variety of settings that affect the behavior of your app. In order to get the location services working, we need to add a new key to this file. So notice if I hover my mouse pointer over Information Property List, I can see a plus sign. If I click that, it's going to give me an opportunity to add a new item to the list, and you can see there's a number of options to choose from. We want to enter our own, so I double click. I'm going to type NS location, when in use, usage description. Press return. So I'll expand that out so you can see it. So iOS 8 is providing us an opportunity to add a description as to why our app needs location services. So the first time the user displays our map, iOS will pop up a dialog that asks, is it okay to allow this app to get your current location? So we can provide a reason as to why we need your location. So over in here, I double click under value column and I say, need location for your deliveries, exclamation mark. I press return and it moved down to the next item. So that's our first step. Our second step requires us to write just a few lines of code. If you look over in the project navigator, you can see there's a viewcontroller.swift file. Now when we first created this project, that viewcontroller.swift file, which is a code file, was associated with the default view controller that was on our storyboard. However, we deleted that scene, and so this view controller right now is not associated with any scene. Let's change that. I'm going to select the storyboard and look at the location scene. I click at the very top to select the view controller, and now I go over to the identity inspector. Right now it's saying that there's a class called UI view controller, a generic class associated with the scene. What I'm going to do is associate the viewcontroller.swift code file with this scene. So if I click the down arrow here, I can see there it is, view controller. So now at runtime, when this scene gets loaded up, that view controller is loaded up along with the scene, and it's used to control or manage it. So now let's go select viewcontroller.swift. And there are three things we need to add to this file. First of all, the top of the file, I need to use the import statement to import the core location framework. So whenever we're using a specialized framework like this, we need to use the import statement. And here we import core location, which says I can use the components inside of the core location framework from within this code file. The next thing I need to do is add a property to this class. In programming languages such as Swift, a property is typically used to hold information. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use the var keyword, which tells Swift we're going to create a property. I'm going to name the property Location Manager. And this colon says this Location Manager property is going to hold a reference to a location manager. And I'm putting the question mark here to indicate that initially this location manager may not exist. So for our third thing, we need to add code to the viewDidLoad method of the viewController class. As you can see by the comment, it says do any additional setup after loading the view. I'm going to click and I'll delete that comment, and I'll do some additional work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a location manager. I'm going to say location manager property equals, I'm going to say CL location manager. And the two parentheses after it says create a new object from the CL location manager and store it in this property. So we need to write one more line of code. And this code sends a request to the location manager, requesting authorization to use core location services. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like in the simulator. I click the Run button. My delivery scene appears and I pick the first delivery, which displays my shipment scene. Now when I click this address, it should display the map view. And sure enough it does. Now notice it's saying allow iDeliver Mobile to access your location while you use the app. And here's our custom text. Need location for your deliveries. So we're going to allow. And over here, in the San Francisco area, we see our location, the blue dot. Now by default, this blue dot should show your location as Apple headquarters. If you're not seeing that, you can go to Debug, select Location, and then select Apple. But I can even move this to the center. If I hold the Option key down, I can click, drag out, and you can see I can get even more detail about where I am. So typically you'd like the map to zoom in on its own. We'd have to write several lines of code to make that happen, so we're just going to leave this as is right now. Now, as mentioned in the book, you can also change your default location in the simulator. So again, if I say Debug, Location, and I select Custom Location, I can enter any latitude and longitude that I want.